The Edwards decision is a decision that is studied in law schools all over the country dealing with the issue of breach of the peace. That case grew out of an incident that took place in Columbia, South Carolina, March 1961. I, along with I think 287 other students, met in Columbia and were arrested for marching on the State House under the auspices that what we were doing was a breach of the peace. That case went all the way to the United States Supreme Court. The court overturned the decision and, of course, reversed our arrests. Now, the interesting thing about this is the fact that I was one of the participants. But also, it's the day I tell everybody that I learned a tremendous lesson. When we were gathered that day, we gathered at Zion Baptist Church on Washington Street in Columbia to carry out this march. On that particular day, I decided that I was not going to go to jail. I've been to jail often enough, and I didn't particularly want to go to jail on this particular day. So when we gathered the march, I went to Columbia that day from Orangeburg wearing my latest bought three-piece olive green suit, gold shirt with a paisley tie. And when Reverend Newman, Ida Quincy Newman, who was the executive or secretary or the field secretary of the NAACP at the time, saw me dressed that way, he knew that it was not the way I was supposed to be dressed if I were planning to test that case by going to jail. And so he talked me into leading a group of high school students, the high school that I graduated from, Mather Academy. And I made a deal with those students that I would lead them on the march, but then when we were ordered to turn around, we would all turn around. They made that deal, except that when we got down and was in front of the State House and we were ordered to turn around, none of them would agree to turn around, and all of us got locked up in jail. Now, while we were there waiting to get bailed out, it was like 2 o'clock in the morning. One of those students said to me that he was getting a little bit anxious about being in jail, and he wanted to know from me when we were going to get out. And I said to him, I said, well, we're going to get out maybe by morning. Reverend Newman is out there raising the bail money, and as soon as he does, he'll get us out. And so he walked away. Came back a little later and said, now, Clyburn, who did you say was going to be out there raising the bail money? And I said, Reverend Newman. He said, well, is he that little man with the goatee? And I said, yeah. He said, well, he's back over in that corner over yonder. Well, it turns out that Reverend Newman was locked up also. And as a result, it was 3 days later before we got out of jail. I learned on that day that all of us have roles to play. My role was to go to jail. Reverend Newman's role was to raise the bail. We got our roles mixed up, and therefore the case of Edwards against South Carolina, in which I participated as one of those arrested, was not just a landmark court decision for me, it was also a tremendous lesson in what roles we ought to play and how not to confuse the roles.